Well now, if the results of the poker game led to the murder, perhaps we should hear a bit more about the outcome of this game.
Further testimony won't really be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost badly.
Miss Orley, you will testify to the court about the game played between the victim and the defendant.
Duh.
She doesn't look so sure.
The game began with 3,500 points on chips for each man. Our chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning, was victim. For last hand, defendant played with all chips on hand, table, and lost. The moment lost was decided, defendant grabs the bottle from table and...
Indeed, looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game.
The court knows poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow.
Ah, how many times have I heard those words? I done it in a fit of anger, Your Honor, and now I regret what I done. Common tale, but true.
Methinks the judge watches too many old court movies.
Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong. Because if he didn't lose, then he didn't lose this one.
The game began with 3,500 points and chips for each man.
Are those the usual starting points? Were any special rules used?
No, no special. Usual game, usual rules.
For each man begin with 3,500 points each. Now the total would be, exactly 7,000 points. Please, this isn't calculus. It's not even long division.
House chips come in two sizes, small and large.
Are the chips in these photo all the chips that were used?
Duh, of course.
Huh? Something's fishy about these chips. Should I press harder?
Yeah, something's weird.
Maybe you could explain a bit about these chips.
Explain? What is there to explain? Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fish and chips, not a chip off the old block, not a motorcycle cop, not a...
Thanks. Now that I pressed her, I'd better ask her something. What are these chips worth? Are they in dollars or rubles even?
Yet, as I've been saying before, it's not a game, not gambling. Hard perhaps for capitalists to understand. Two types of chips, 100 points and 1,000 chip points. It is not many, da.
Justice. Sir! Don't you find her comment interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I'd have it add to her testimony myself. Well, does the defense want to add their testimony? Yes. Yes, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Add to this testimony. Questioning where I was going with this. Very well, witness. You'd be so kind.
Your Honor. One kind of chip is worth 100 points, the other kind is worth 1,000. Two kinds in all.
Mr. Gavin said these testimonies are important. To be honest, I have no idea why. Ms. Justice, do the court a favor and think of what you are to say before raising your hand. We are not in kindergarten. Sorry, I'm fine. I better think of something to ask. Quick. The two types of chips. The small ones are 100 and the big ones are 1,000. Right? Right, of course.
Don't waste our time.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Great. Mr. Gavin, maybe stop her and now I'm the one who looks dumb. Oh, Justice. Please try not to embarrass me like that. Huh? Who? Me? There's a clear contradiction in the information you have in your hands. What? It's a simple matter of calculation. Go on, try it. We're not in kindergarten after all. Calculation? Calculation?
The one who was winning, was victim.
Oh, wait a minute. Here's the spread on the table. Okay, so everyone starts with 3,500. So it's gotta be an even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That doesn't add up.
Objection!
You're sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure.
It seems our new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at the picture is enough to tell you who won, if you're not kindergarten.
Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court?
Of course, Your Honor. In this photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points? Why, the big ones, of course. Duh. Oh, I thought so too. But then the totals don't add up. The totals? Mm-hmm. Let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips. And the combined total value of the chips was 7,000 points.
Yes, if my calculations are correct.
Let's see. 3 plus 1, give me the 5. They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points and the small chips are worth 100, and you add them up, how much is it? Do it yourself. You weren't in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 chips. The chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony. But why? What could this be? Exactly, Justice. Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Right. There's only one possible way to explain this contradiction. We were wrong about the... what?
No, the starting points are correct.
The odd thing here is the number of chips. Right, Gavin? Why are you asking me? Just in case? Justice, it's your case I'm concerned about. If you're wondering about the chips, just look at the photograph. It's all there. Even our judge with his failing eyesight could count them. That's not the only thing failing the judge. I'll ask you again. That means the starting points would be wrong. Calculation makes the answer clear. If the totals combined points at the table were 10,600, then each man started with that night with 5,300 points! 5,300? It's a rather half-baked score in which to start a game. Justice, would different starting points really change anything? Eh?
The defense's objection was even more half-baked than the score.
Oh, time to head back to the kitchen. Was not. Okay, good. Yeah, both are right. Then each man began the game with 3,500 points. If the chips are right and the balanced totals are right, then that's the truth. If all the chips are indeed shown in the photograph, then there can only be one answer.
Well, what is it?
This is the third time you brought this up. The value of the chips were the other way around. The what? Want to know what I think? The small chips are worth 1,000, not the big ones. Madness! Utter madness! Show me the photograph of the chips again. There are 6 small chips and 10 large chips. What? That does make 7,000 points when you add them up. Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. Well, I'm just glad I was the one who said it. But wait! Not only the chips may be different, but the change is nothing!
Indeed, the victim did have the larger number of chips still.
Exactly. If the small chips are 1,000 points, the large chips are 100. Let's do a little math. Add the points for each side of the table. Well, the victim, Mr. Smith, had 2,900 points. The defendant had 4,100 points. Well now, it seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all. That's impossible! My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning! Yeah! Now, Miss Orley, you must have known the true value of the chips. Since you were there at the scene of the crime. Weren't you? Order! Order! It appears the defendant lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. We must now ask ourselves whether we could trust the witness's What? Excuse me? What is it, Miss Orley? I did not want to be saying this, but actually, you see... See what, Miss Orley? What do we see? In the last hand, there was a cheat. Cheat? You don't mean a trick?
Wait, or do you mean a scam?
They're all the same thing. Yes, there was cheat in last hand. This is why game ends with chips as they are.
Great. Just great. First we have lying, now cheating. Well, this case certainly has taken a turn. For the interesting. Witness, you will please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating at the final hand.
The last hand, both men had full house. There is 4 of each card in deck, from ace to king. If you look at both men's hand, cheat is more obvious. The next moment, game begins argument. Ah! The defendant's trick is exposed. He took a bottle in his hand. Poor Mr. Smith.
Miss O'Reilly, why did you not tell the court about this from the beginning? I thought I smelled a cover up here. Well, folks, it's time to throw back the covers. A full house is a very high-scoring hand. Not easy to make, in my experience. That alone is enough to suspect less than scrupulous tactics. Mr. Gavin? What's a full house?
Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker.
I can't say this bodes well for your case or career.
What is this, some kind of secret court poker ring?
Justice, you know the terms 1 pair, 2 pair, and 3 of a kind, yes?
Yeah, well, no problem.
2 cards of the same number mean a pair, and 3 makes a 3 of a kind. Good. Now picture a hand with 1 pair and 3 of a kind. That's a full house. Doesn't sound very easy to make, does it?
You can see each player's hand in this photo.
They both have full houses.
We forget there's an easy way to make a full house and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat.
The defense may cross-examine the witness. If he did cheat the last hand, that leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost that hand. Who has ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? Maybe I can use that to my advantage.
Last hand, both men had full house.
Just how hard is it to make a full house anyway?
It is quite hard. Is making a pair of 3 of a kind at the same time.
I guess that's right. Very difficult to be sure. You can take my word as the poker head of courtroom number 3.
Very difficult, yeah. But it's not impossible.
Okay, full house. Hard. Line of questioning? A waste of time.
It's 4 of each card in the deck from ace to king.
4 of each card, you say?
There's 1 spade, 1 diamond, 1 heart, and 1 club for each card. It is an interesting fact that as number 4 comes a number of seasons.
You don't say. And did you know that the cards are numbered 1 through 13? All done all the cards in the deck, you can get 364 a year. You don't say. Isn't that 1 day short?
This is why the deck has 2 jokers. They say the deck and joker stands for the leap year. Thus you have a perfect representation of the year. All the deck of cards.
You don't say. We're going to be in this courtroom for a year if it keeps going like this.
If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious.
How is it clear?
Well, the defendant. He played a 5th ace.
5th ace?
I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand is 3rd aces. Mr. Wright's 2. Obviously cheating was afoot, or perhaps I should say a hand.
Your Honor, perhaps this could be added to the testimony without Mr. Payne's joke. Very well. The witness will add this detail to her testimony. Please.
Mr. Smith's hand was 3 aces and Wright's 2. It's 5 aces in all.
A 5th ace?
It should not exist, no? I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand is 3 aces. And Mr. Wright's 2.
Where did this card come from then?
Perhaps we should ask the defendant that very question. And regards the deck is no less serious a taboo than forging evidence in the court of law.
Now, perhaps it's time for you to say something, Justice.
You bet! I've no intention of staying quiet. Not me, no sir.
But find some contradicting evidence fast before I contradict. Alright. Well... Where's the 5th ace? There's only 4 here. It appears the witness is mistaken.
Mistaken? But my name...
Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. That's the photo of the chips, is it not? Justice, perhaps you ought to explain your point in the way that the judge can comprehend. In other words, use your finger to point out your point. Yes, please point to the contradiction in the photo. What particular point contradicts the witness's testimony? Well, his hand. Ms. O'Reilly, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand is 3 aces. But as you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2 aces.
Well, maybe the witness is simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question.
Take another look at the evidence. As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in his hand. Where's this 5th ace? I see cheating alright, and it's going on here in this courtroom. 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces total. Hardly proof of cheating.
Wait, please! It is true! I've seen it! The 5th ace! You're cheating, I swear to you!
That's odd. She must be lying, yet she's the most sincere I've seen her all day. You're right to trust your instincts. Mr. Gavin? Who knows what lies in store for us at the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion. What might that be, Sir Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, perhaps we might examine the actual cards? The cards? Mr. Payne.
Yes?
The players' hands that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request that the cards be shown to the court. Very well. The prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? The victim's cards, the defendant's cards. If the cards don't prove cheating was going on, nothing will. Which of these hands is most suspicious? Well, they said the victim. There's a victim's hand that changed over the course of the witness's testimony. The defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's cards. Very well. Mr. Payne, if you would. Very well. Alright. Time's a-wasting. Get to it, Justice. Yes, sir! Let's examine them in 3D. When examining evidence, be sure to view it from all sides and angles. Try using the dials in the evidence viewer. That should give you the better perspective in this case. Let's do this! You can use either the side dials here, or the buttons. Actually, no, you have... Or the buttons that scroll with... The king? What? Your Honor, look at this! One of the victim's cards. The back is a different color!
Eh? Wah! That's impossible! But I put that card in the right hand! Eh!
What was that, Mr. O'Reilly? Miss O'Reilly?
No, yet. No, I merely said, I have...
Your Honor, Mr. Gavin, yes? Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? To cheat? I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend, a comrade, shall we say. The dealer. Oh! Wait, so you mean... This witness, Miss O'Reilly. She's the cheater. A professional, I'd wager.
No!
Order! Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. Of her mistake. Your Honor, please recall the testimony we just heard.
It's impossible! But I put the card in Mr. Wright's hand!
Ergo, Ms. O'Reilly conspired to cheat, not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shotty Smith!
Oh!
Not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly! Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim. What? Wait, you don't mean... The defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly, are you? Time for justice. 3 people in the room at the time of the incident. If Mr. Wright isn't guilty, that means... I am! The defense accuses the witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly, of murder! Oh. Mr. Payne, where is your witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly?
It appears she's lost consciousness, Your Honor.
Huh. Mr. Justice. Your Honor, it seems you've presented a new possibility to the court. One suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim, Mr. Smith. And that means... This court cannot pronounce a verdict on the defendant at this time.
What?
I did it. I held out. I see no point in prolonging the trial this day. The prosecution will need a further inquiries. Mr. Wright? You can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet.
Well, without nonsense is the defendant spewing now.
Think, one of the cards had a different colored back. Don't you wonder what it means?
What are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous!
Mr. Payne, you of all people should know. Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous. Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night. As we said before, we alternated between 2 decks of cards that night.
That was said before.
The 2 decks of the club have different colored backs, blue and red. 1 color per deck. Why use different colored backs? If we use the same color, the 2 decks might get mixed. But you used different colors and they still got mixed up. We used the red deck for the last game. I see, but that's odd. For some reason, I have this impression that you were using the blue cards. Yeah, me too. I'm sure someone said something about blue cards.
Whatever. In the end, 1 card of the wrong color got in the mix, which means there was cheating.
Yes, a card slipped into the deck that would seem to indicate cheating. Yet, this card raises 2 serious questions. Apollo? Yes? Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think, in the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are 3 broad possibilities here. We could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder.
Well, yeah. Thanks to the news bulletin, Mr. Wright. Of course it was swapped.
Oh. It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne, or it might not be.
Ah.
I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When? Honestly, it might have been after the murder for the sound of it. Perhaps it happened after the murder?
What's that? Ridiculous! What's the point of cheating after the game has been shown? Hasn't been shown, that's silly.
Yes, but tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible.
Take it from me, son. There's a lot of silly in the world, but very little possible.
Oh? Even when backs of the cards are a different color? If you pulled that during a game, you'd be caught in no time. Quite true. That would mean that the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown, after the murder.
Okay, this is going past silly to straight on to crazy. Ask again, what's the point of cheating after the game's over? Who would do that?
Who indeed? That's one of the mysteries before us. There's another? Yes, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for the blue card? Who? The game, and murder, is done. The victim is dead. Only 2 remain in the room. Alive, that is. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, and our witness, Olga O'Reilly. Okay, so who was it that swapped the red card for the blue? Olga seems really sure of herself. Wouldn't be Phoenix. Was there a third party? The one who swapped the cards wasn't Mr. Right, of course. And, well, it doesn't seem like it could have been Olga, really, either. What are you suggesting? That's hardly a logical conclusion, I'll admit. But as a defense, I think it only makes sense for you to name Miss Aurelia at this point. Yes, I know, but she was the one who dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe she would make the mistake of swapping the wrong color card. If the color card was swapped during the game, it would be obvious. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright. Oh, my apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking about how much fun all this is.
Fun? How about confusing? I have no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. If the one who swapped the card wasn't the defendant, it wasn't Miss Aurelia. Who was it?
Yeah, well, that's the question, isn't it? Precisely. Huh? I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction. A new direction? We'll find that, indeed, after the murder, someone swapped one of the cards of the victim's hand. And that someone made two critical mistakes. I'm sure you're going to tell us that the first was swapping the wrong color card, because the one who did the swap didn't know two colors of cards were being used. The other mistake was the number on the card. Right. The person replaced the fifth ace with a king. I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace, after all. All they knew was that the game had been won with a full house. So they picked up a king from the table and swapped it in.
But there's one problem! According to our case record, the person doesn't exist!
True, not until now. But you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. Through it's more important than a possibility. There was someone else there that night at the scene of the crime.
What?
I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright. The trial is proceeded on one central assumption, namely that at the time of the incident, there were only 3 people in the room. I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption. The problem is that you chose to conceal this information with the court. I suppose that is a problem, yes. Court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during this recess. Certainly, Your Honor. Very well. Trial will resume in 20 minutes. That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. To suddenly claim that there was another person at the scene of the crime like that, I must ask, is that the truth? Well now, I think you know just the answer to that. Being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I've no time for mysteries. I'd only ask that you leave the defending to your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Christoph. Justice! Yes, sir! The judge has summoned me to his chambers, so carry on without me. You did well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Sure. That locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright? You're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket? Here, you can take a look at it. That's a picture of my daughter in there. I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter. Most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? What do you think? Huh? You know what happened 7 years ago. What I did. It's not unreasonable for you to think I might cheat. I never honest, but it's odd that you managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years. Want to know something? There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Poker. Eh? You see, poker is all about reading your opponent. In that way, it's a lot like a court case. Poker is like a trial law? Figure out what your opponent is thinking and win. Well, yeah, but that's harder than it sounds. I think not. Try as they might to conceal it, everyone reveals the true thoughts in the end. Their body language can become a valuable source of information. You're kidding. That witness, for instance, Miss Aurelie. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? No. Come on, who noticed that? Words, habits, twitches. It's all information for the reading. That's the secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me, and now I pass the secret on to you. But I'm not worthy. I mean, there's no way I'll pick up these signals. No, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. What's he talking about? But you will. Soon. I almost forgot. One more thing. About this case. You should know, I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I knew it. I have my reasons, of course. All shall be revealed. And Apollo, I need you to be there, defending me. I need your power. My, power? I had no idea my chords of steel were that special. It's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best. Things are just getting started. Alrighty. Let's begin. This is a good start to Let's Play in Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Hard not to say Phoenix, right? Let's go!